Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're having an excellent Friday. It is just a couple of weeks before we have our big day at the Capitol. And so I want to start today's broadcast by asking all of you that are watching this or may watch this in the recording, please come to our TRTA Day at the Capitol. Right now, we have over 900 TRTA members that are registered, and we know that more people usually show up than are registered. This is going to be a big event. This is going to be an exciting event. It's a celebration. It's a show of force. It is the time for us as an organization to gather like we do biennially and let the legislature know that we are one of the, if not the most powerful organization representing retired school employees, not just in Texas, but in the country. And we're excited to think that you will be a part of being at our day at the Capitol. If you are not familiar with this, if you're a relatively new TRTA member, or if you've never been to one of these events, there's no fee. There's free lunch. There's free ice cream. You get a chance to be around a lot of your fellow retirees. We're going to have a lot of fun pictures, a lot of activities are going to go on. It's going to be a very memorable event. We are absolutely going to celebrate the repeal of the WEP and the GPO. Prior to that win, we passed Proposition 9 here in Texas, which gave retirees, it authorized a cost of living adjustment for retirees. We're going to celebrate that. We're going to celebrate the previous legislative session where we were able to secure over $5 billion in additional revenue to pay for stipends and cost of living adjustments for retirees, many of who had never had a raise in 20 years. And so if you think about the body of work that TRTA members have been able to accomplish in the last 2 years, we've had the legislative activities, we've had work on our Proposition 9, which we passed. We saw that the legislature allowed TRS to reduce the premiums for Medicare eligible retirees that are on TRS care. And we also passed the repeal of the WEP and the GPO, among many other victories. And so please, if you are able to be at our March 26th event, I would encourage all of you to show up. I'm going to send a personal email out to all of our members sometime next week, asking everybody to show up. A lot of people have said, can we do something to support your staff or your board or you for all of this great work? Just come and be a part of our stuff. We would love to see you. That's our reward, is being able to celebrate with you. And so that's the commercial out of the way. And we're going to focus on a lot of the things that I know you are all interested in. It's been a big week. I've been in Washington, D.C. I just got back late last night and had many meetings with different congressional staff. As well as talking to our two Texas state senators, or U.S. senators. I want to give a shout out right now to John Cornyn. He is a team member there that I've worked with for years by the name of Andrew Syracuse. Mr. Syracuse is helping me try to get some answers to some questions. Congressman Moran, who's on the Ways and Means Committee, he's from East Texas. He also is reaching out to try to get some help. I am in regular contact with Lance Gooden, who's been a friend of mine for years when he was in the Texas House. He's now in Congress. He has been working even this afternoon to try to get the Social Security Administration to provide a contact for us. So all of these folks are participating. Last night on the way back home, I sat with Jake Ellzey, Congressman Jake Ellzey. Jake Ellzey voted for HR 82 and repealing the WEP and the GPO. We started talking on the plane about what that meant for the retirees and how proud he was as a congressperson to vote for the repeal of WEP and GPO. I did also see a person that I've known for many years. I consider him a friend, and that's Lloyd Doggett. Congressman Doggett did not vote with HR 82. My understanding is that he would have liked to have seen a more comprehensive overhaul that would have provided additional revenues and staff and other things to fix Social Security. And I understand his point of view on that. I still consider him a friend. At the same time, our moment was to pass HR 82, and we celebrate all of the members that voted to repeal HR 82. And we also have now many, many retirees, TRTA members, contacting us and telling us they are receiving their back pay. And one of the first questions that comes up, and it's kind of easy to answer because we do know this from the Social Security Administration, is that a lot of folks are getting their retroactive back pay before they ever got anything in the mail saying how much it was going to be. So about 2 weeks ago, we were talking with the Social Security Administration staff, and I wish they would do another one of these. If any of you know someone who works for the Social Security Administration who's watching this, or because I have invited the Social Security Administration to tune into our live broadcast. If you are watching this, my request still stays the same. I would love to have someone from the Social Security Administration join me and our members on one of these social media events so that our folks can have their questions answered directly by the Social Security Administration staff. I've made that request no less than 3 times. I've made it again today. And so we'll see. I've also asked the Social Security Administration to follow the TRTA Facebook page where a lot of our questions are coming. And I know that many of you have questions, not just about some of the things that we're going to talk about today, but you're going to post some more. And Roy has been very good to kind of cull some of those for us to talk about today. But as I said earlier, we would like to have another meeting with our Social Security friends. I do think that they are doing as good a job as they can. I know obviously there are a lot of circumstances that are being talked about in Washington with the potential cuts to the Social Security Administration, and yet our folks are still starting to get a lot of pay. There are some areas that I'm going to talk about today that I am concerned about that I do not have answers on, but I want to let you all know that we are thinking about them. So, but for the first answer, we knew and still believe that you all are going to be getting your Social Security statements that will talk about what the back pay was based on, if you were receiving the retroactive pay, and then also going forward, what your new pay will be. Now, many people who have a history of being WEPed. Oh, my camera's out of focus again. Roy, there we go. All right. Anytime I have a problem, I'm just going to shout Roy's name and it'll fix itself. So many people who have been WEPed in the past on their own Social Security work history, they're anxious to see what their new monthly amount is going to be going forward. Those statements should be coming out. As we reported, I think twice last week, the Social Security Administration is telling us that retirees will receive their March payment in April. Please remember that the Social Security Administration pays for the previous month when they are making a payment. There's also information on the Social Security webpage about when they make payments based on birthdays and other days and things like that. So a lot of folks who were getting the retroactive pay, they were telling us that it was coming on a day that was not their normal day to receive, some kind of Social Security dollars. And so that was because Social Security Administration has been trying to get these dollars out as fast as they can. And so those are some of the things that, our folks are asking is, when will the new benefits start? For most people, they're going to start in April. The Social Security Administration still has it's only the 7th of March. So they've got another 20 plus days to continue to roll out retroactive payments. This gets me to one of my first questions that I don't have an answer to right now. And I tell you, I'm pushing every button that I can to the point where I'm sure I'm getting annoying to some of the folks that I have talked to in the past in Congress. But that is what is happening with the retroactive pay to our retirees who specifically have lost their spouse. They lost their spouse prior to January 1st, 2024. And they went to the Social Security Administration where it was a common occurrence for the staff at local Social Security Administration office to ask questions and find out that a retiree the surviving retiree was receiving their TRS public pension or their other government pension. And the most used phrase that I have heard is when a Social Security Administration person said, "You don't even need to apply. You're not going to get it." And so we have a lot of folks that whose spouse may have passed away prior to January 1st, 2024, that are now making their first application to claim their spousal benefit now that GPO is gone. And what I am struggling with, and what I'm trying to get clarity on, and I'm saying this is my opinion, and clearly my opinion is not, what Social Security Administration is going to be basing this on, unless we find out that they share the same view. But it is my opinion that if the Social Security Administration had a common practice of telling public workers who are trying to receive a spousal benefit, don't apply. It wasn't necessarily that retirees' choice not to apply. They were told not to apply. And if there is retroactive payment that should be made to people, it is my opinion that it should be made not based on when somebody's application is processed, but when they are first eligible to receive the benefit that they were told they were not going to receive because the GPO was in effect. And please remember, and again, we've got a lot of new folks tuning in every week. The government pension offset is the one that was dealing with that spousal benefit or that widow's benefit or widower's benefit, where they would value your public pension by multiplying your monthly public pension amount by 2/3, and then taking that value and subtracting it from what you might have been eligible for on the spousal benefit. And under the GPO, just about everybody lost any benefit they would have had. But instead of going through the application process and putting it on record, the Social Security Administration at the time seemed to have a standard operating procedure where they told people just don't apply. I don't know if it was saving them paperwork or saving them time or saving them, I don't know. But I'm hearing some conflicting reports about how the SSA is going to process the retroactive payment for retirees based on the application date. Considering SSA was originally telling retirees that it would be a 12 to 18 month rollout, that they didn't need to call, that they should not, be ready to engage on any of those things yet. And now, those phone lines are, full of people all over the country who've been told the same thing that maybe you have been told about not applying for that spousal benefit because you would not have been eligible for it. It further puts retirees behind on what that retroactive payment is going to be. And so it's a little bit of a risk for me to even talk about this today, because I know that a lot of people have questions about this. I have plenty of questions about it. I've heard about 3 different stories of how this is going to happen. And this is probably where I need to tell everybody, look, I'm not a financial planner. I'm not a tax counselor. I'm not an attorney. I'm your advocate. And from my advocacy role as the executive director of the Texas Retired Teachers Association, knowing that we have many people around the country who, at a very difficult period in their life, were told don't apply for something. And now that decision, which was taken out of their hands essentially by the Social Security Administration years ago, and now that is going to be potentially used to reduce the amount of retroactive payment that they're going to get. I have a problem with that. And so that's why I've been talking to folks like John Cornyn and Jake Elzy and Lance Gooden and Congressman Rand and others. All of them that I can talk to. That's what I'm trying to figure out. What we really need is somebody from the Social Security Administration to be accessible to answering these questions. And I know again, I applaud them. They're doing a difficult job. I don't know what the circumstances are at the Social Security Administration right now. I'm not trying to, attack them in any way, but I also do not want our retirees to be disadvantaged by, this piece of legislation that's taken us 40 years to get here. And during those 40 years, it was kind of common practice for the Social Security Administration to encourage people not to take an action that ultimately would be the defining point of whether or not they're going to get as much of their retroactive pay as they're going to get. So that's what we're working on. It's what we're spending time on, besides a lot of the other things. A lot of the questions that I've seen on our social media I'm sorry for looking at my phone, but I sent these notes to Roy last night. I broke them down by categories, and a lot of folks are still asking you, when will I get my reimbursement check? When will I see the money coming in? The answer to that is a lot of folks are starting to get it now. There are some people that are qualified as having maybe circumstances that could be a little more involved in calculating, and so those people may take a little bit longer. But I think overall, the Social Security Administration is rolling out retroactive payments as well as processing new applications for people to have the benefits get started. There are a lot of new people that are just turning 65, and the Social Security Administration is filing their Social Security applications without a WEP to interfere. And so I've had a lot of people ask me about the spousal benefit. If I'll use my wife and me as an example. So Nicole is a teacher at Dripping Springs High School. I pay into Social Security and in the private sector. So someday when we're both over the age of 65, she will be able to claim some Social Security based on her own work history because she's got Social Security work history, or she may qualify for a higher benefit if my monthly benefit is at 50% is greater than her full benefit. She could get a higher benefit based on my work history under Social Security than under her work history under Social Security. So that's another question that has been asked by TRTA members and others, and saying, hey, look, I am going to get my WEP, or my benefit is going to be better because the WEP is gone, but my spouse, their monthly benefit at a 50% rate is higher than the full rate that I would get under the Social Security that I have. And so that's another one of those areas that you might want to talk to a Social Security Administration person about, which of the higher two of the two benefits we qualify for. So the way that kind of works out in the end is that the Social Security Administration ultimately pays the greater of the two benefits to a person who is the surviving spouse. So if I continue to use myself and Nicole as an example, if my benefit was more than hers and I pass away, she's going to get all of my benefit, and she's not going to continue to get some portion of hers. She's going to get the higher of the two. So these are all things that we are starting to get more acclimated to now that WEP and GPO are gone. And again, if you told me a year ago that we'd be having these kinds of conversations about trying to figure out these concerns with an implementation process because WEP and GPO have been repealed, that would have been the most astounding news that I think I would have ever heard. And it still is, I think, the most significant accomplishment that I think that we have, that we as an organization, all of you as advocates, have been able to get accomplished. So kind of wrapping that up, and Roy, I'm going to let you go to some of the questions that folks have posted on our social media, but I did sit on a panel this week with several other colleagues from around the country talking about the repeal of the WEP and the GPO. There were a lot of teacher retirement administrators there. There were a lot of other public pension plan administrators that were there. And we were talking about the repeal. And I wanted to tell everybody in that room that this may be the most significant political or policy accomplishment that all of us will have an opportunity to be a part of. And I think the reason that I reiterate that with all of you today is I truly want you to come and celebrate it. My hope is that all of you will show up on March 26th and celebrate this big, big win. And I know there's some bumps in the road. I know there's some things that we're going to find out that maybe were not exactly the way that we expected them to be, but we're going to keep pushing ahead. Now, let me say this one final thing, and then Roy, you get ready for some of your questions. So if you are a person who has not yet applied for your spousal benefit, and I have heard people talk to me about this, there is urgency in you communicating with the Social Security Administration. I know some people have told me that they have talked to the local office and they've been able to process that application. The one thing I know for sure is you cannot process a spousal benefit application or survivor's benefit application online. And the folks that I'm talking to today are telling me that when they call the Social Security Administration, they are having to generally wait for some period of time. And And then ultimately they go through a process where somebody tries to set them up for an appointment when they will be contacted and have that application processed. On the Social Security Administration website, it doesn't read that way exactly. It reads that you call the 800 number, you pick on a certain option, which I think is family and benefits or something like that. And then you answer a few more questions. And then ultimately you get to somebody who wants to talk to you about Social Security fairness. And again, if you've not made that call, I would strongly urge you to read the Social Security webpage on contacting them and making the application. But those of you who've been through this process, some of you have told me that they did process the application on the phone when you were talking to them, but the majority of folks have told me that they have set up an appointment to have that set up and made. And so the longer those appointments go out, the case that I'm making to our friends in Congress, and I'm trying to get somebody in the administration to pay attention to this as well, is that the longer those go, the less retroactive pay some of our retirees get if the Social Security Administration has a different point of view than what we do on how that should be paid out. And so please, if you have not made your phone call to apply for your spousal benefit, I would urge you to do that right away. All right, so I know we've got a lot of the questions. Roy, do you want to hit me with some? Roy, you're on mute, unless you just want me to read this myself. My husband and I got our back payments today. What a blessing. If I want to be considered for spousal benefits instead of my own, is there a way to know if it would be better? And if I go for spousal, will it change the back pay I received? I don't know exactly. I don't believe the Social Security Administration, who's asking this? Elaine is asking this. I don't believe that the Social Security Administration is going to try to claw any of that back. It is possible that you can determine what that benefit may be. It may not be known until April, when you get your official deposit and your statement from the Social Security Administration saying, based on our records, this is your revised Social Security benefit. It may be that the Social Security Administration is looking to determine if your spousal benefit, again, my understanding of the spousal benefit when both spouses are still alive, is that at age 65 and above, if your spouse who has a benefit that is, if you cut that benefit in half, all right, so if it's $2,000 and cut that in half and say that's, $1,000, 50% of the spousal benefit. And let's say that your regular monthly benefit is $800. Well, half of your spousal benefit is greater than your current benefit of $800. And so my understanding is that you will be eligible to get the $1,000. So there's a $200 increase, and your spouse would continue to receive their $2,000 benefit going forward. And again, I don't work for Social Security Administration. I'm not a financial planner. I'm not a tax attorney. I'm just going based on information that I think that I understand about Social Security Administration. So I think that's a great, starting question. Roy, we got another one. Oh boy, this is a great question. Linda, what a great question you've got. Will taxes need to be paid on the money we get? Okay, well, let's answer this both ways. First of all, on the retroactive payment, it is our belief that you will have to pay tax on that money. And for some people, based on what I'm hearing about retroactive payments, and that may be enough money that it could cause your taxes to be significantly different for fiscal year 2025 than what it may have been in 2024. As of today, Social Security benefits are still taxable income. We probably all saw the State of the Union, and there were conversations both during the campaigns and as we've moved forward through the new administration, where people are talking about will Congress pass something that changes whether or not Social Security benefits are going to be taxable. Right now, all of the taxes on those Social Security benefits are still in place. And so I am talking to our congressional team, our Texas congressional delegation, and have asked if we could find a way to get the retroactive payments to be tax-free. I have a few congressional members that are relatively interested in trying to get that to occur, but as of right now, assume that you will be paying taxes on it, and that you probably should be prepared to hold some back and be ready to pay the tax man when those collections are coming due. So a lot can change between now and when, next year when we're starting to recalculate our benefits. But that's the answer I have right now. But Linda, that's a great question. All right, go for it. What do you got? Well, thank you. Tim, you're such a hard worker. Thank you. I would say that the retirees are the hard workers. I just try to keep up with all of you. Hypothetically, we're the ones who retired during the loophole in 2004 from teaching so they could get spousal benefits awarded, the 100% Social Security benefit, or did the GPO control that benefit? In other words, should I expect an increase? You have told me not to call SSA, so I am trusting that you will have the answer to this question. All right. So in Texas, there was something called the GPO loophole. It was not the windfall elimination provision loophole. It was the GPO loophole. And it dealt with a person's ability to retire from a school district that was paying both the Social Security tax and the TRS tax on their last day of employment. And that loophole was closed in 2004. And many people were aware of the loophole, and they decided that they were going to go ahead and retire so that if their spouse passed away, the GPO would not apply to them, because on the last day of employment, according to the federal law at the time, as long as you paid into TRS and Social Security, then you would not have the loophole impact you. And there were tens of thousands of additional retirees, far, far more than what was really expected in those days. And it actually so many retirees that it had an actuarial impact on the retirement system and the healthcare plan. Roy, you can come back to me on this one for now. And so maybe. Yeah, there we go. And so because of that, and I think specifically to this question, you were never going to have the government pension offset impact your spousal benefit. So that's the good news. Now, what I don't know for sure is whether or not the Social Security Administration allowed you to collect not the widow's benefit, but the spousal benefit with your spouse who may still be alive. And so if they told you no, but you were also told that if your spouse passes away, you're not going to have a reduction on your benefits, then there might be some retroactive pay. So generally speaking, I would say this is one that I need to get more information on. So Roy, let's go ahead and save this one. It's a great question, but if you retired under the loophole and your spouse has already passed away and you're receiving your full Social Security benefit based on your spouse's work history without any reduction because of GPO, more than likely you're probably not going to get any back pay because they never reduced your Social Security to begin with. But there could be some other tweaks in there that we've got to get SSA to answer for us. So it's a great question. All right, Roy, do we have another one? All right, so please check into the possible error in handling Medicare premiums. I've heard a lot about this as well. Our Medicare premiums were deducted or paid for during the year of 2024. It seems that they deducted those premiums from our retroactive checks. Anything that you can learn about this would be helpful. Roy, again, probably come back on me on this one. So it's just in the last 24 hours, I've seen a lot more folks ask this question. So my understanding is that people are saying, hey, they have already made a lump sum payment, or they paid their Medicare premiums for 2024 because they were direct pay. And then the Social Security Administration, when they recalculated the retroactive pay, they backed out the premium that was already paid for the Medicare premium. Now, do we know if the Social Security Administration is saying that was specifically for the Medicare premium in 2024? Were they trying to make it proactive in paying for 2025? I don't know. It's a great question, and I have received probably a couple hundred other folks that are asking me this. And again, this is why we need the Social Security Administration to be more engaged with all of us, and potentially doing a weekly update with stakeholders explaining how some of their decisions are getting made. And so, but I believe that we are ringing the bell sufficiently with our Texas congressional delegation. And I also think, as of right now, the Trump administration has been made aware of this and is also going to be directly trying to put us in touch with people who can answer these questions. So I've got your question. Sorry that we don't have the answer for that, but we're going to work to try and get it. All right, Roy, do we have another one? All right, that was one that I think I just answered. All right, so here's Marcia. I cannot get my question answered, and I want to know what methodology are they using as to who has already gotten the retro pay, who hasn't. Is it being paid by the week you normally get paid? How are they deciding who gets paid and when? Does anyone know? Or maybe those who have received their check can tell me if they received it the same week they normally get their checks. All right, leave this one on the screen for a second, Roy, because I'm going to try to touch on each of these as I can. First of all, it is based on the conversations that I've had from, I'll name drop because some of you know and respect some of these people, and you've known and talked to them before. But Susan Dixon, who's she's the president of the California Retired Teachers Association. She was so integral in trying to help pass the WEP and GPO. My friend Sean Duhamel, another friend of mine, Tom Lucier, other executive directors from around the country. We all have been pushing on a couple of concepts. One, that if our retirees have been waiting a long time, or I'm talking specifically about some of our senior retirees, when we were told it was going to be a 12 to 18 months rollout, we were very aggressively pushing that something be done for our senior retirees who have been waiting for a long, long time for this to happen, and we wanted to make sure they got their money. And clearly, they were organizing themselves at SSA, and our belief is they probably just did one of the best jobs any of us have ever seen of trying to manage expectations. Be that as it may, they're clearly sending money out, and they're doing it quickly. Is there any rhythm to how they're doing? Is there any sort of code that they've designed to say that if you're, 100 to 105, you're getting yours first, or if you've been waiting, or if your amount is a certain amount, or if you're from one state versus another? We have not seen any patterns. We have not. So before on Saturday or Sunday, when I arrived in Washington and I started to connect with some of our folks, I started hearing from colleagues from kind of the Northeast that they've been hearing from retirees saying they were getting the retroactive pay. I talked to a couple of folks in California that I knew. They felt like some folks had been told they were getting retroactive pay. At that time, I hadn't received a single email, text, or phone call from somebody telling me that they had been notified that they were going to get a deposit. But as Monday rolled along, I have gotten hundreds of those emails, texts, and phone calls telling me that there's retroactive pay. And that's why we're starting to get some of these questions. So only the Social Security Administration probably knows what their methodology is on how they're getting it done. If you have not received yours yet, I would not be worried. If you're a person who's been WEP'd and you're getting a little bit, and you've already got your payment details set up and everything else, the Social Security Administration is very clear. They've said, please wait until at least April for us to try to figure out what questions you have, because what they're saying when they're doing that is they're saying, we're going to be sending you retroactive payment. We don't have any sort of schedule to this. We're just getting them out as fast as we can. We're way ahead of even sending out the mail that we talked about earlier, talking about those benefits are going to be. And by April, a lot of people's benefits are going to be fixed to the higher amount. So that's probably when I would start saying, I might need to check into this more. I've already said, and I'm going to say it again, if you have never made an application because of the GPO spousal benefit, you need to call that 1-800 number. I know some people have been telling me that their local office has been able to help them with that, but I've also had just as many people telling me that their local office was absolutely no help on that. I had a report this week that a local office said that the retiree was lying, that the Social Security Administration would never repeal the government pension offset and the windfall elimination provision. I had another Social Security office story where the Social Security Administration in that local town told me that the only reason that the GPO and WEP was passed was because the Social Security Administration pushed for it. I know both of those stories are false. The Social Security Administration does not push for the WEP and the GPO to go away, right? So that's number one. Number two, the idea that somebody can have that the Social Security Administration has not repealed the WEP and the GPO because of what Congress did is also false. So anyway, that's what we're working on now. So all right, Roy, let's hit with another one. Okay. Question. My husband is retired police officer and affected by the GPO. Do you know if this is being processed in a different manner than those under the WEP? I am seeing many getting their retro pay who are WEP retirees, and I received my retro pay, but nothing from my husband. Anyone know? So first of all, as you all can tell by now, I have a dog who decided that he wanted to bark at the same time that I'm trying to have this conversation. But I'm an animal lover, and hopefully you won't hold it against me too much. The other thing that you probably need to know is that I came back from Washington and had food poisoning, and I've been sick all night long. And so I was not going to say it, but I am getting to the point where, Roy, I may be unable to go on too much longer, but I'm going to try to answer a few more of these questions. So my husband is a retired police officer and affected by the GPO. That part is the part that I probably need Rianne, Mrs. Clark, to contact me about. So Roy, why don't you pull this question and send a response, or Rianne, if you're listening, and I apologize if I'm not saying that name correctly, but Mrs. Clark, will you please contact me at tim@trta.org, tim@trta.org. If you need to contact me by cell, you can text me at 512-626-3268. But I'd like to get a little more information about your question before I answer it. So let's try to get that one answered together. Roy, let's hit another one. Do you have to reapply to receive the benefits? I have applied in the past and of course was denied. All right, now this is great. So Mr. Sage, Gary Sage, I do have Medicare and will turn 73 in June. Happy birthday. The regional office says, wait for the letter. Okay, so if you have made an excuse me, if you've made an application and you've already been denied, you're more than likely in that position where SSA is saying, here's a person who didn't listen to the advice they were giving to a lot of other people, which was don't apply, and you went ahead and applied and got an answer. And so my guess is that you're going to be you're going to assuredly have your retroactive pay based on the date of your denial. And if that was prior to January 1st, 2024, more than likely going to get the highest number of amount of retro pay. But there's also a record with your Medicare that you have some bank information and some address information already on file with the Social Security Administration. I would say that if you know you've got that denial, and you had these other things going on, you probably could wait another couple of weeks to see what happens and let that play out a little bit. Okay, Roy, do we have another one? I received a deposit and went to the Social Security website to see exactly what the deposit represented. None of the figures are combined numbers equal to what I received. And yes, it specifically says we deducted from Medicare. I assume we will need to ask for a refund. It is very confusing. I have no idea what the deposit represented. I'm not spending a dime of it until I feel confident that it is correct. You know the old saying, the government giveth and the government taketh away. So yes, that it's a really well-written comment, Cherry. And I think that it is going to have to be one of those things that it's sort of a wait and see. This Medicare question has come up a lot. And I promise all of you that I will get an answer as quickly as I can. Now, another one of my friends that we've partnered with and I really respect are the folks who run the social media page Guardians for Social Security. That was the website that had originally been called Repeal, WEP, and GPO, I'm sorry, I forget that, but exactly what the name was. But a lot of you are on that page. And so if you go to Guardians of Social Security, you will also see that a lot of other folks from around the country are also leaving these same kinds of questions. And I've been talking to the administrators of that Facebook page and social media page, trying to get some more information. This Medicare question is one that keeps coming up. So, Roy, I know there's probably a lot of other questions. I do probably need to hit on a couple other things before we move on. And I appreciate all of your patience for everyone who has been making comments. We're going to read all of them. We're going to continue to find out answers like that we can. And we're going to push every button possible to get those answers. So the last several items that I want to talk about, particularly, are for our Texas TRS retirees and for any active teachers that are watching. As many of you know, the legislature is in session. The Texas legislature is in session. This week has been a very busy week in the Texas House. I mean, both the Senate and the House have had busy weeks, but we've been following some of the things that are going on in the Texas House. There has been a number of questions that are being asked about our teachers receiving a pay increase or a pay raise funded by the state of Texas. And we all know that they deserve it and need it. And so our school employees, my hope is, are going to get a big raise for their working professional lives today. Again, my wife's a teacher. I'd love to see that happen. One of the things that has come up is whether or not that pay raise would have an actuarial impact on the TRS fund. It has been reported during this week of questioning between the committee members and the director of the teacher retirement system, Brian Guthrie, who's doing a great job. He had said that it is possible that depending on how the legislature constructs the pay raise for the school employees, that it may have an actuarial impact and one that would spin us out of being actuarially sound. And for all of us, TRS and the trustees and the legislators, policymakers, active teachers, retired school employees, all the teacher organizations, we all have worked to ensure that our pension system is going to be solvent. One, because we want to make sure that all of our school employees have retirement security when they retire. I tell a lot of our active teacher groups that when I'm out talking to them, most of what we do at TRTA is protect their future retirement security. That's our mission. So we do not want the retirement system being handed an actuarial bill that says, hey, we're going to do this great thing, but it's going to have a negative impact on the retirement system. And all of the future school employer retirees are going to have to pay for it because we're not going to be actuarially sound. We're not going to be able to give retirees any cost of living adjustments. We're not going to be able to do any other sort of benefit enhancement because the system is not actuarially sound. I personally do not believe that the legislators that have worked with us in leadership and in rank and file legislators in the House and the Senate that we've built relationships with, I just don't believe they are choosing a path that is going to put the cost of the actuarial impact on the TRS by active teachers getting a pay raise. And so is it fixed that way in the current budget and bills that are talked about? No, not right now. But it's a long process. And I truly believe that we'll have an opportunity to engage with decision makers to ensure that our teacher pension system is going to be solvent. Now, one of the reports, that was talked about by Director Guthrie was that based on what they had seen, it may take as a one-time contribution, a lump sum payment to TRS, it may cost $3.1 billion and to pay for it, all of it up front. Now, again, all of this is subject to change. And so just know that our association, Brock Gregg, who's our associate director and somebody who's got tremendous experience, testified in committee yesterday about working on this. I've been in contact with leadership and others in the legislature, as well as the rest of our team. So objectively, our goal is to ensure that the TRS fund is not on the hook, because it hurts all future retirees. It hurts all current retirees. And there's a way to handle this. And truly, I think the legislature is going to take the path that is going to pay for it. But again, we got a long way to go, and so we'll have to see how that turns out. There's also been more and more conversation, especially in the House, about the discussion around ESAs and vouchers. Some proposals talk about ESA funds, some proposals talk about vouchers. Again, these are things that are maturing through the legislative process. We believe we have strong commitments from people in leadership that are going to look at this issue and what the impact may be on TRS, and their eyes are open to making sure that whatever those policy decisions may be, that our pension system is not put in a negative position. We've talked about this on several episodes before, and that's what we're still working with today. Okay, Roy, what else did I want to hit on today? Anything else? I know that we've got one other special thing, but anything else that you
saw? Yeah, I mean, there have been a variety of comments that we could hit up, and really appreciate all of the comments on these videos and on the Facebook, because Tim made a couple posts on our Facebook this week requesting questions. We really appreciate all of that. Our membership year is just starting up, so if you aren't a part of our organization, we highly recommend that you do join. That's one of the primary ways you can support us, is to become a member and encourage all the retirees that to become members, and also, of course, to follow us on social media and like these videos to help raise awareness for people who may not know anything about what's going on. For every person in this chat, there's probably 1,000 people who have no idea that any of this WEP stuff is going on. And even same thing applies for everything that goes on with TRS. So the more people that we let know about our organization, the more people that can join, and the stronger we become, so that we can become better advocates. To that point, one of the most common calls that we get at our TRTA office is they confuse us with TRS. They think that we're the state government agency because it's an alphabet soup. And they just don't really know that we exist and what we do. So letting people know about us, letting people know what we do, that's a great way to support us, and a way to say thank you for everything that we've accomplished over the last couple of years, but also to help us going forward.
Well, Roy, I appreciate that. It's all good information. Please don't go. If you're still watching, please don't tune out. I've got one more thing that I want all of you to see before we leave, and it's very important to me. But a quick recap on the call, because I saw several people kind of chimed in late. We do not believe there's any sort of order on how the checks are going out. We believe that there's another full 20 plus days where retroactive checks are going to be going out. There have been a number of questions about Medicare premiums. There have been a number of questions about retroactive payment, and a bunch of questions about applying for these benefits and who should be doing that right now. So those are the things that are coming that we're trying to get information on. And so I appreciate that comment about how they thought it was their neighbor's dog. No, it was mine. It was mine. But if you're still tuned in, I was in Washington, D.C. on the evening of the State of the Union address. And I was around folks and was talking to a lot of our Texas congressional members. And, one of the things that was unfortunately very sad that happened after the State of the Union address is that a person that I considered a friend and someone that all of you had a chance to learn a little bit more about by the name of Sylvester Turner passed away. And he went peacefully. His office staff said that he had left the State of the Union address and may have been not feeling as well, but ultimately um, he had passed away that night. And we're very sad to hear that. And I thought when we did our interview with Sylvester Turner, it was one of the very best conversations that I have ever heard anybody talk about in their service and what they've done and what their public life means to them. And so, Roy, I know we've put together just a very short clip. So if y'all stay tuned and watch this, we'll end the video just as soon as this is over. But I want to say to the family of Sylvester Turner that we truly appreciate the life of public service that he gave to Texas, to the city of Houston, and to this country. So this is in remembrance of Sylvester Turner.
Carry with me from just being mayor, just an example of how your presence can make a difference. I was at a Boys to Men event, Hammer Detail. We got there late. I was the speaker and got there late. Somebody else was talking. And so I sat, they had some chairs along the side. And I sat in a chair along the wall until the person finished speaking. And when I sat there, this 10-year-old black kid who was sitting literally like kind of like in the middle of the room, of this hall, he gets up and walks towards me. In fact, he walks and stands right in front of me. And he's looking at me. And I said, okay, fella. I said, what's up? He said, are you the mayor? I said, yeah, I'm the mayor. I said, what can I do for you? He said, I came over to say hello. And I said, right about then, they was started to introduce me to speak. So I said to the guy, fella, I said, look, I'm getting ready to do my part to speak, and we'll pick this up. So I get up, and I walk towards the front of the stage. And he's walking with me. I said, okay. So I would take the steps to get up on the stage. He steps up with me. And I go to the podium, and he's walking with me. So I said to myself, okay, let me see how this is going to work out. So I stand there, and I decided to give my speech. I said, I'm not cutting anything out. And I spoke for about 20 minutes. For the entire 20 minutes, this 10-year-old black kid is standing right beside me. Wow. And at the end, what I said to the audience, please give my friend a hand for standing by me and giving me what I needed to present to you. And they clapped for me. And then I walked him back to his table, his chair, and said, I look forward to meeting you again one day. Throughout my time as mayor, Carol, when things got rough, hard, when there are times when you just, I want to throw in the towel, I thought about that 10-year-old kid and said to myself, it's not about the buildings we construct or the roads, all of that. It's about those young kids who are watching when we don't even see them and who are noticing us when we don't even see them. And that's the world that we need to construct and build.